names talk Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Varsity Radio. Call in at 402-489-1240 or at 800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt and Elijah Erball.
Welcome to it. Great to be with you on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Can watch the show and stream us as always, KFORnow.com. Husker baseball going on up on our affiliate 590. We'll get you caught up with Husker baseball thoughts. It's not been good. That's not uttered that often. San Diego equal bad. No, not usually, but it's been that way for Husker baseball. But, man, Husker basketball, you are still smiling. You are still grinning with an overtime adventure against Maryland, 70-66. PBA was incredible. We'll hear about that from Coach Hoiberg. Beau Reed will stop by, get his take on just the transition this team has had to make, and they've really done just an incredible job their last 7. I know they're 4-3, but it's about how they've done their work. Short-handed, undermanned, and they just keep fighting. Numbers to get in today at 402-489-1240, 402-489-1240 if you want to join the show, or can send an email, chris@hailvarsity.com. Stream us, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Can watch the show with Hail Varsity's Twitter at HVarsity Radio, and of course on the KFOR Twitter handle. Elijah, man, there's been a lot of moments in PBA. There's a lot of moments in Nebraska basketball where you're in that pressure cooker environment. You feel and feed off the energy. The fan base wants it and wants to will it so bad. And you have a basketball team that is reciprocating with effort, intelligence, heart, toughness, grit. I mean, go through all the superlatives. And I know Maryland's a 7 seed right now. But you've seen this team time and time again, undermanned, rise to the occasion. There's a movie scene that's pretty famous, and it's on, it feels like 24/7, and that is Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation, where Cousin Eddie's shopping with Clark at Walmart, and Clark's like, "Look, we want to help you out this Christmas season, Ed." You know, Eddie's reaching for snots as Alpo, right? He's breaking glass ornaments that Clark had picked out for the tree, and you hear all this glass breaking, and Eddie's grabbing 40-pound after 40-pound bag of dog food and throwing it in the cart. And Ed, we're going to get you Christmas this year. And Cousin Eddie knew that Clark's a sucker, so he had a list. He had a list for Clark. Get something for you, real nice, but a real nice price. And the basketball keeps surprising, and maybe they'll just turn you into believers. Don't know. There's still 3 games left. You have a road trip to Iowa to end the year. Sparty comes in the 28th. We'll be down at Rosie's downtown Lincoln for that on the 28th. And, of course, you got some breathing room between now and Minnesota. Minnesota is a team that you need to beat, right? Don't rest on your laurels. Keep the intensity. But, man, what a ball game. And you had heroes. You had Derek Walker from the free throw line. Derek Walker in ISO. You had Sam Griesel really kind of take over the latter part of regulation. And you had Sam Hoiberg, who's not just, oh, what a sweet, cute story. It's the coach's kid. He's a good basketball player, and he's a smart basketball player. And he gives up his body. He uses his mind, and he's hit some big shots when given moments, 9 points off the bench. Kada has been a man down low, and whether you're getting 2 minutes or 12 minutes off this Nebraska bench, they have, as a unit, they've been so cohesive. Kisei Tominaga's been on a mother of a heater, equaling what Ty Lue has done, and the first Husker to have 5 straight 20-point games. But it was awesome, man. It was awesome. I went yesterday. Big thanks and shout out to Calvin. for hooking me and cousin Nate up with tickets. Saw Navat, saw a bunch of folks that like listening to the show. It was awesome to be down there and experience it, because when Nebraska basketball gets hot, there is nothing like it. Football's football. Baseball is clearly important and a lot of fun, but when Nebraska basketball is winning and they're doing some special things, man, there's nothing like that energy inside PBA, and you got to experience it, hopefully in person at PBA, or the great Kevin Kugler and Nick Baugh calling it on FS1 yesterday. But man, that was a good time. That was an absolute good time, and Nebraska continues to reward. I'm going to say this. You can call that a hot take. You can say I'm caught up in the moment. Have you ever had a Coach of the Year given to somebody who's 500 and overall and below 500 or right at 500 in league play? Can we talk about that for a second? We've gone from, well, is Fred going to get another year, to, oh, wow, they won at Rutgers. Oh, they came back from 17 down against Wisconsin. Hey, they beat Penn State. They've gone from kind of surprising you that they won to now, how have they done that? And I think your Coach of the Year front runners are probably,
it's got to be Chris Collins.
Chris Collins, right? Maryland was picked 10th in the league preseason. Okay. Painter's always going to get votes because Purdue's money. Mike Woodson, Indiana's kind of restored what they've been. They're a lot tougher of a team than they've typically been. But I think if you go peer to peer, it isn't even a contest. I think if you go poll coaches in the Big Ten, who does your vote go to? It's Fred Hoiberg. They get it. They get the injury situation. They get the roster and the management that's had to go into this. They understand it. He'd win in a landslide, and he deserves it at this point in the season. Right now, I know there's 3 games left. But if you go pull the rest of the Big Ten, they are going to absolutely, I would bet money, your money and mine, Elijah, then say they would give Fred Hoiberg the nod. What he's done and what this team has done is incredible. It's 1 win. I know they've won 3 straight. There's the moment we can be caught up in, but enjoy it. It's fun. It hasn't happened all that often, but you feel like things have truly shifted, and you're happy for this team. You're excited for next Saturday. You're excited for Sparty on a week from tomorrow. And we'll see where things are with Iowa at the end of the year. If they could get to 500, the NIT, that'd be awesome. Dreaming even bigger with a Jimmy V tribute 40 years later. Who knows?
Well, you'd have to go do something pretty special in the Big Ten tournament for that to happen.
No,
you have to win out the regular season, then probably get at least 2.
We're talking about an 8-game heater.
This team's hot.
No, I know.
This team's hot. And as you said, I'm not sure I'd go as far as to say Coach Hoiberg deserves Coach of the Year in the Big Ten as right now, but he at least deserves Coach of the month of February.
I'm with roster. Listen, am I too in the moment here? I'm sorry, but listen, they're screwed. They've been screwed with their 2 best defenders. Who do they got on offense? Kisei's gotten hot, and that's kind of been miraculous. Like, he's been a role guy.
Well, let's not forget that the fact that 2 injuries potentially derailing your entire season is also a little bit of an indictment of the coaching staff, because bringing in talent is a part of being coach.
You shouldn't be screwed.
But based on
here 4 years, I get it.
Based on the talent that he has, the coaching job Fred Hoiberg has done, he's done the best coaching job in the Big Ten. I don't think that's contestable right now, but there are other factors to that Coach of the Year discussion. I'll just say, I think Fred Hoiberg at least deserves Coach of the month of February. I think that's a fair down the middle assessment.
Pump the brakes, Schmidt.
I'm just saying that the fact that this roster looks how it does right now in year 4 is an indictment of Fred Hoiberg's tenure at Nebraska.
You better make some chicken salad, is what you're telling me.
That's basically what I'm saying. Yeah, you better make some chicken salad with what you got, and he's done that.
That's so good.
He's done that. He has done that in the month of February. He's got this team playing incredibly, and whenever you watch a game like yesterday, the talent differential, which I believe to 100% be there. I believe Maryland is a much better basketball team than Nebraska. But if you just watch that, if you didn't have any context of the season, if you couldn't see the records down in the score bug, if you had no idea what was going on before the season, and you watched that game yesterday, I think 9 out of 10 fans would say, yeah, Nebraska was the better team. They got the win. They had the home crowd, and they looked better most of the way through, aside from a stretch about
17 minutes to 8 minutes
in the second half.
8-minute stretch of no baskets.
Yes.
You go 3 of 16 from 3-point land.
When your two remaining best players, Greasel and Walker, have to go to the bench, which again,
with foul trouble.
Again, a bit of an indictment on the coaching staff, but that's not where I want to go here.
You fixed it.
Because you're able to build a roster that plays in a way that represents the state of Nebraska. Something I said last week, where the state of Nebraska is proud of this basketball team. You know why they're showing up in droves for a sub 500 team? Because of the way that Fred Hoiberg has those guys playing. And let's not just give all the credit to Fred Hoiberg. It's the way these guys have responded as well. It would have been easy to roll over with Bandamel and Gary going out, and then you go on a losing streak. You know what? You roll over, you say, this Hoiberg experiment at Nebraska is done for. I'm going to start getting ready for my next stop. This team didn't roll over. They bought back in. They doubled down on the intensity. They changed the entire way that they play basketball, really, from pre-Gary and Bandamel to post-Gary and Bandamel. And they've started reeling off wins yet again. That's what's made Nebraska so proud of this team, is despite the adversity of this season, despite everyone telling them, you know what, you're not good enough this season. The roster is just not good enough for you to be competitive in the Big Ten. Despite all of that, they are remaining competitive in the Big Ten, and they hold their postseason hopes in their own hands with 3 regular season games left in the Big Ten tournament. And if you would have told me that 3 weeks ago, I would have called you crazy.
You would have called you crazy. You would have called me crazy. You would have asked for a drug test. I mean, there's a lot of things that give the man a breathalyzer with that crazy hot take. Hey, Nebraska's going to rally the troops. They're going to do it with subs. They're going to do it with some duct tape and baling wire, and they're going to go full MacGyver in the month of February.
They're going to do it with guys you've been bemoaning all year long, too. CJ Wilcher hasn't been the guy that you thought he would be.
Good for him, though.
He gets back on track. Kisei's been the scorer that we thought he was whenever he was coming to Nebraska. Sam Griesel's been that steadying force. Then you get impact off the bench with guys like Jamarcus Lawrence, with guys like Blaze. I mean, it's been phenomenal what we've seen over the past couple of weeks.
402-489-1240, 402-489-1240. Am I nuts? Do you think Coach Hoiberg deserves some Coach of the Year discussion? Or are you going to tell me, let's get back to that at the end of February and into March? We'll see how the season finishes out. But we'll hear from Beau Reed, Husker Hall of Famer, get his take on what he's seen from this Big Red squad. And it looked bleak there with the scoring drought. It was a nice first half. They were up 7 points. But the big thing is with Nebraska, they won the basketball game at the free throw line. They won it with toughness and rebounding. And then they just found ways to make plays. And that is what you expect from teams that are loaded with NBA talent. Well, this team's got some guys that will play pro ball, I don't doubt, but they've been able to really lean on a guy like Walker to go make plays, let him do his thing off the nail, and then Greasel comes back in. Sam Hoiberg's making plays. Kisei gets it going, and then Kita again is just that guy. And they did it. They cleaned up the rebounding. They got after it rebounding, and then they also took a lot of charges. And I mean, they were legit charges. I mean, you needed a helmet and a mouthpiece in that ball game. Well, it was absolutely physical.
The stat that the TV broadcast brought up, which I hadn't even thought about this season, but Nebraska, in terms of block per game this season, is like 290th in the country.
One more time.
Nebraska, in terms of blocks per game, is like 290th in the country. They don't get blocks, but the rate at which they take charges is one of the highest in the Big Ten, and that's where they make their money interior on that defensive side of the ball. And right now, I think, especially with what Michigan State looms and with what Iowa looms with, I think the hope moving forward is that Blaze, this little injury that we saw as he turned the ankle again,
to walk her off.
Yeah, you would hope that this is not going to be an issue where, I mean, we saw how much it kind of derailed his season when he got injured back in December. You hope that this is a shorter term, just a little bit of a tweak, and he can get back, because I think he's going to be a really, really important factor against Michigan State, especially.
Got to have him.
And I don't want to overlook the Minnesota game either, because that's going to be important.
No,
but
Minnesota's going to come in and try and make you cry, ruin your season. Let's hear from Fred before we check in with Beau Reed. A little bit from Fred here post game as a happy PBA that was just on fire yesterday.
The one thing I did see in the huddle, I thought we were hanging our heads a little bit. And, the big message, obviously, when we went through a really rough patch when we had foul trouble by Sam and Derek. Those are two guys, obviously, that we run our offense through. Jamarcus was battling a little bit of an injury. So, we had some very unorthodox lineups out there that hadn't really played together a lot. But we hung in there. And even though they went on their run, they didn't separate to the point where we couldn't come back once we got those guys back in the game. And the big message to them was get your heads up, get that swagger back that we were playing with, and get back to doing what gave us some success. And, guys just made play after play, and I was really impressed with how they kept fighting. We were down 8 with, I think, about 7 minutes left. And, free throw was fine. We won a game at the free throw line, which, I haven't come into these press conferences and said that very often here. And then, Derek goes 9 for 11 from the line. It was just unbelievable. So just really pleased how our guys kept their composure, found a way to get back in it, and, just make huge plays down the stretch.
Good time yesterday, your Sunday Fun Day, an exclamation point with Nebraska basketball. More on the Big Red. Beau Reed with us. It's Hail Varsity presented by Currency.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known. But what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hail Varsity is a must-have for true Husker fans. Get a monthly magazine that'll make checking the mail fun again. Daily analysis and breaking news, including the inside scoop on recruiting on HailVarsity.com. And every June, you'll get the Nebraska Football Yearbook, a season preview completely dedicated to Nebraska football that's as comprehensive as national previews. Use that promo code AR for monthly subscriptions, that yearly promo code DB at HailVarsity.com.
Equal opportunity, especially in the workforce, is the cornerstone of the American dream. Being employed gives us the confidence to be financially independent. There's real meaning in supporting ourselves and those we care about. We feel respected, useful, even empowered to become leaders. But what if you were one of the 6.5 million people in the U.S. with an intellectual or developmental difference, such as autism? 81% of adults with developmental differences don't even have a paid job, and only about 1/3 of the public believes they're capable of having leadership roles. Now is the time to change that. Join the SunTrust Foundation in supporting Autism Speaks, Best Buddies, and Special Olympics, and creating pathways to 1 million employment and leadership opportunities for this talented community by 2025. Together, we can build a broader workforce for the future. Visit deliveringjobs.org to learn more.
Winter weather here in the heartland. The forecast can change in a matter of hours or sometimes minutes.
I'm urging people to take these forecasts very seriously.
Stay warm and safe this winter and stay connected ahead of the storm with the experienced weather partnership of the 1011 Weather Center.
Prepare for what's about to hit us.
And Lincoln's breaking news and severe weather station. FM 103.3, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Come see the state's largest display of John Deere equipment at Acres Ag and Turf Expo. Acres Ag professionals and suppliers will be on hand to discuss techniques from tillage and planting to application and harvest. Also, don't miss the full lineup of John Deere mowers and compact tractors. Join us at Grand Island Fauner Park.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Husker Hall of Famer, and part of that NCAA tournament team that was a 3-seed. Beau Reed with us. Beau, you still smiling from yesterday? What a win by the Big Red.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good win. That was a fun atmosphere. It's as full as I've seen Pinnacle Bank in a number of years, so that was fun.
It was electric. They found a way, and Beau, I know it was alumni weekend, and give me your thoughts here as we've kind of gone on this winding road of this season for Fred and company. They have continued to scrap. They've continued to fight, and now they're hot at the right time. Did you think they had this in them? What was your take on the team as you kind of watched them and observed them here go through their ups and downs?
Yeah, well, okay, so a couple of foundational things from the get-go this year were better. The team was playing for the team. They weren't playing for themselves. Even their uniforms are unified. They are all wearing white or red shoes. They're not wearing pink and blue and yellow shoes. So this team reflects more appropriately the university that they represent. They play hard, they play unselfish, and they play to win. And that's fun to watch. The crowd can see that, and it's easy to root for an underdog. So after Vandemel and Gary got hurt, they could have easily folded up and basically gone home. But what Fred did was create an offense around Derek Walker and his unique talent. And so they're basically running a version of the triangle offense with Derek Walker at the point of the triangle, and no matter what side of the floor the ball's on, which is genius. And the way that it's structured, he's always got an open side of the floor for Sam Griesel, especially if he has a mismatch. Derek then is the ability to kind of go to the rim, create plays for other people. And, with the way a couple of those guys are shooting the ball, they're always either positioned in that ball side corner or in the opposite wing. That if you go to sleep and forget about them and try to stop a layup, you are going to give up a three-pointer because Tominaga is red hot right now. They're fun to watch.
They are. And go back to that tweak, that triangle, and I'm familiar with it just through all the years of watching Phil Jackson and the Bulls, right? His triangle. And I think they always went through Bill Cartwright, if memory serves, or Luke Longley. But Derek has been so good. I know he's an elder statesman. He's been through a lot in his career, and man, he is showing just incredible leadership and that ability off the bounce. I mean, he's a pretty big time mismatch for a lot of dudes. As physical as Maryland is, I mean, Derek really took over.
He did, and I'll tell you, two things happened in that game that were critical to us winning. When both Derek and Sam got their third fouls, both of them came back in the game about 12 minutes left, and Maryland had immediately, when they were both out of the game, eliminated an 8-point deficit. Sam comes in, and 30 seconds later gets his fourth foul. So I'm thinking Sam can't come back in the game until there's 4 or 5 minutes left. And, they jump up to an 8-point margin. And with about 7.5 minutes left, you see Fred push Sam back to the scores table, which was absolutely what he had to do. Well, in that 30 seconds, Sam Hoiberg gets a wide open three from the top of the key and just buries it to cut it to 5. Then you get the 7-minute there's a timeout. And so then Sam gets to check in the game with 7 minutes left and 4 fouls, never gets his 5th foul, plays unbelievably hard, and scores probably 10 of his 12 points in the last down the stretch. Really, really, he and Derek played like 6th-year senior guys. They just really played intelligent basketball. And, Tominaga did his thing. He sometimes takes some shots that make you say, what are you doing? But he made his free throws, and he made a big one there in overtime.
But whenever you combine yesterday's atmosphere with the performance by the players and the coaching job by Fred, do you think that was the best game of Fred Hoiberg's tenure at Nebraska thus far? I think we know he's probably earned himself another year at this point, but was yesterday that crown jewel in Fred Hoiberg's tenure so far?
No, I think Rutgers was last week. I think that was a game no one saw coming. I didn't think we had the personnel to beat Rutgers. And we just had a game plan that was unbelievable, and we executed it for probably, 37 of the 40 minutes. I mean, it was unbelievable. And this was a follow-up to that. The adversity that they fought through with Derek and Sam getting in foul trouble, and then also you could kind of see all the kids' body language kind of change, and it got, the slumped shoulders, and you could see they started kind of letting doubt creep in because they were really struggling, and Maryland was going on a little bit of a run. But then when those guys came back in the game, they just picked them up like seniors are supposed to. And Fred and his staff have done a great job of putting these kids in a position where they can be successful, because let's face it, with the exception of Sam and Derek that are pretty well-rounded players, everyone else on that roster is pretty one-dimensional in terms of their skill sets. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. There's just one thing that they do that's better than everything else. And so he's, maybe Tomonaga's a little bit weaker on defense. So Fred's mixed in a lot of zone in the last month and a half, which he's had to do to kind of buy some minutes where they can't isolate him with a 6'6" guard and back him down and isolate him in the post. And so I just think this entire year's an expose on just how good of an X's and O's guy Fred is. And now he's just got to get a roster that'll allow him to kind of compete in this league. So I think he knows what it's going to take to win in the Big Ten now. And now I hope it shows up in the recruiting.
As you look at how this team was constructed via the portal and some 6th-year guys, and you've got some young guys that are either waiting in the wings or have seen more minutes. Beau Reed with us. Beau, everyone seemed to chip in at an important time as they've gone on this run. And looking big picture with Nebraska, do you think Nebraska, to your statement a minute ago, do you think they'll be able to get who they need to get in here for future classes and future teams? Can they keep this rolling?
I think what's happened is, and I don't know if it's intentional or they've stumbled upon it, but what you've got is you've got kids playing a role again.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the 5 guys all thinking they're going to play in the NBA and every guy's got to get 20 and 10 and get his stats because he wants to play at the next level. We've got a bunch of kids that are playing for today, playing for the name on the front of the jersey, and there's just not a lick of selfishness. And, that's a formula that can win at Nebraska for a long time, because we're not going to have 5 NBA players on our basketball team. We never have. I don't know that we ever will. And, but what we've proven is that with a couple of really good players and a bench full of, 5 or 6 kids that are willing to play their role and play hard and do what the coach tells them, we can play smart basketball and we can beat a lot of good basketball teams. And that's what's been so fun. And I swear that's why you've got such a great fan reaction to this, because no one saw this coming based on the way we played basketball in the previous years.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of selfish play and a lot of kids that clearly didn't care about Nebraska. And that's probably an unfair characterization. That's what it seemed like by the way that they played. And guys like Teddy Allen, who felt like a mercenary and didn't, necessarily care about the rest of the team. He scores 41 and then decides to sit out the rest of the year because of whatever reason. So there's been some things in the past that made it kind of difficult to see this coming. And I think when the name Fred Hoiberg was announced and everyone got so excited, this is what I think people thought we were going to see, is a guy that played this way and now is coaching in a way that it's just so fun to watch, because they don't care. They're not playing for themselves. Not a single guy out there. They're playing to win, and they're playing as a team and for each other. And Nebraska people will rally around that all day long.
Beau Reed with us, Husker Hall of Famer. Reaction to Nebraska, Maryland overtime, the Big Red get it done. As a senior leader, and your team really kind of jump-started that era, that run for Nebraska to get to the tournament. And there was a lot of tournament runs after your 90-91 season. Tell me a little bit about your experience being that senior voice with a different group of guys that season, as far as the leadership you had you had to use, but also to get the result you had on the court, because you had talented dudes, but you guys all played pretty well together.
Well, wasn't always that way though. So my sophomore year, I was the leading scorer and leader in assists, and we had developed an offense down in Australia that I was looking forward to my junior year. Well, I got hurt. Mm-hmm. And then as I'm sitting out, Piakowski and Chubbuck are redshirting, Farmer's transferring in, and we're watching the guys. Once we started to lose games, we just watched it deteriorate into guys playing for themselves and trying to get their stats. And they really didn't care if we won or lost at that point, because they figured, well, we're not going to make the postseason this year, so I'm just going to get my points. And so when we all became eligible, and I was a senior coming off a knee injury, missing my whole junior season, I really had the mindset that no one was going to get any accolades or any attention from professional basketball if we didn't learn how to win some games. And so, I personally decided, I don't care if I score 1 point in the game. We're going to win. We're going to figure out how to win. I want the right person to get the ball. I want the open person to get the ball. And the other thing that happened is we were deep enough with talent that Coach Need didn't have to tolerate any selfish play. And so when you get a couple of people that are leaders of the team, like Derek Walker and Sam Greasel, who play so unselfishly, it is totally contagious, and it permeates the locker room. And all of a sudden you've got a chemistry. And I think Fred attributes a lot of this to Bandamel even being a great leader and saying, we're playing to win. None of us go anywhere after college unless we figure out how to win games. And so it was devastating when he got hurt, but Derek has been rock solid. And Sam, that kid's he's tenured. He's played. He's been through the wars. He's been through injuries. He's been through illness. That kid's been through it all. He's not going to get shook, period. And so I think there's a lot of similarities. I think this is a foundational year, and Fred's program goes from here, because I think they now have an identity that he will not allow anyone to wreck.
Girls District Basketball Wednesday night, the A3 semifinal with Lincoln Northeast hosting Omaha Benton. You can catch all the action right here with coverage beginning at 6.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Get out. There is no way out.
From Best Case Studios and ABC Audio, listen to In Plain Sight, Lady Bird Johnson, a new podcast about the power of a political partnership, one that somehow doesn't show up in the many, many accounts of Lyndon Johnson's presidency. Told through Lady Bird's own audio diaries and available now wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Hey, Outdoor Nation, Jeff and Hershey here from Nebraska Game and Parks with Nebraska Outdoors, and this is your outdoor tip of the week.
Jeff, now I've been hearing that even though it's wintertime, you can still go camping in Nebraska. Is that true?
Absolutely true, and our state parks and rec areas are ready and able to handle a lot of fun camping this season. Now, here's some tips that are going to make camping a lot more fun, and then first and foremost, when it comes to sleeping, a good heavyweight sleeping bag, something rated down to at least in that 0 degree range. Closed cell foam underneath that sleeping bag to keep you off the ground. Something that people overlook sometimes is a little buddy heater can go a long ways into keeping you warm and comfortable. And of course, layering and making sure you have the hats and mittens and all that good stuff. And don't forget, a good campfire makes it all the more fun.
For more tips and fun, join us every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. for Nebraska Outdoors on KFOR.
And remember, time spent camping,
time well spent.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Beau Reed with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Husker Hall of Famer. Beau, what's your gut tell you here on the finish? Get the crystal ball out here. I know Minnesota, Sparty's awfully tough, looming, and then you wrap Iowa, but Nebraska, a chance they keep this streak going. I mean, they are climbing the mountain in the Big Ten in a log jam here.
Yeah, you feel like the Minnesota game's kind of a must-win.
Yeah.
And then you hope you can sneak one of the last two. Michigan State's going to be a tough matchup for us because at the 4, they're so physical. And but, you know, the way we've been playing, I wouldn't put anything past. No one wants to play us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Iowa's going to be playing for their life. I mean, I think they're kind of right in the middle on the bubble, and I think that's going to be a tough game at Carver Hawkeye. So if we could sneak 2 out of the 3 and get to, you know, a winning record, that would be unbelievable. It might get us out of having to play the play-in game, which I think we maybe are out of that right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing you want to avoid, because it's hard to make a really deep run in the Big Ten tournament if you got to play that play-in game. It's just, especially with we're only playing 7 guys or 8, that makes it really hard to go on much of a run there. But, yeah, gosh, you win the Minnesota game, you take care of business, and then anything can happen after that, the way these kids are playing. And, you know, even if they don't, you know, I just think that the atmosphere in that arena just shows that the fans really are enjoying the product that's on the floor. And, gosh, it just didn't seem like that was going to happen this year, especially with Derek kind of not being on the team the first 4 or 5 games. So it's just the surprise of it all and the joy of seeing this all kind of come together with a bunch of unselfish underdog kids playing as one unit and winning against nationally ranked teams. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's really cool.
Beau Reed with us. Beau, enjoy your week. We'll catch up with you down the road and see you back at PBA. Thanks for a few minutes today.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
I love chatting with Beau Reed, shooting fire as always, and that's the perspective of a former standout at Nebraska that got the team going, and he kind of lived it. You got to go back a ways with the early knee era and some of the talent they had and what brought them together that senior year for Beau Reed anyway. I mean, they're kind of the gold standard, right? They're a 3 seed, a team that finished in the top 10, and that 90-91 Husker squad was just awesome. And then you saw more tournament runs or trips anyway throughout much of the 90s. But you had a foundation, right? We talk about foundation and construction and flipping things, the construction narrative with football a lot. Well, Fred has found buy-in. He has found roles to Reed's point, and it's working. And it's through grit and hustle, not necessarily talent. And Nebraska fans love that. Yeah, it's great to be the most talented team. That's easy. So, or it's easier to win with the talent versus guys that have developed into something and you pay off. That's the fun of this. Nebraska baseball, let's get you caught up there. We'll have more on Husker basketball next hour. Charlie McBride with us in 20 minutes. But through 5.5 innings, Nebraska now back in front, at least as of 10 minutes ago, 11-10 over San Diego. Charlie Fisher hit a 2-run shot to put Nebraska up. Nebraska was down 10-4. Elijah, you're sick for this Husker baseball team and Will Bolt. because they found every which way to lose this opening weekend series between too many runners left on base in the Friday night game. Saturday was problematic. They still left runners in scoring position, didn't close that way.
And not to mention, you also had passed balls and wild pitches at inopportune times,
right.
Balks at bad time. The whole weekend has just been a calamity of errors in a way.
Well, it's been a lot of what ailed them a year ago, and it is a fresh new start. It's just one series, but you were hoping to exercise some of those demons, and then you jump out and get walked off yesterday. So no one as fiery as Will Bolt is. He may have just said, y'all are walking home if we don't get one today. And for them to be down 10-4 and to roar back and go up 11-10, maybe this is, all right, you salvage one and maybe it's a spark you can get heading into next weekend.
Game's not over today yet. Shmuel.
No, I know.
So let's be careful. Let's be careful because it's, as you said, it's almost been the same story as last season. I know it's early in the year, especially whenever it's your first time actually going and playing outdoors in nice weather in San Diego. Things are a little bit different. You're learning some things about yourself, especially with all the new players that have been brought in. You got to learn a lot about who you are as a team. But that's been the problem with this first weekend. It's that same issue. You know what? When the pitching's going, the bats aren't going. That's Friday night until you get into the bullpen, and then the bullpen kind of lets you down. Saturday, a similar story. You get the hitting going, and then the bullpen again lets you down. It's just whenever there is somebody performing well for this baseball team, there's somebody else out there who's letting the team down. And until you get a full team effort where you're finding a way to win instead of finding a way to lose, I think it's going to continue being a problem. But you got to find a way for this team to buy back in. And the saying of 2 years ago, gritty beats pretty. We haven't quite seen that since those seniors graduated 2 seasons ago. So who's going to step up, be a leader on this Husker baseball team? Who's going to be able to look their teammates in the eye and ask more from them? Because, I mean, this weekend, the Huskers starting pitching has done their job. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They've done the job. They've given the bats a chance to go out there and score some runs, and I don't think they scored enough on Friday with the runners in scoring position. The batters took that, I think, as a challenge Saturday and Sunday. They came back. They got themselves some run support, and then, it's the bullpen letting you down on Saturday and Sunday, where you have a lot of experience.
Complimentary football.
You have a lot of experience in that bullpen. It's been guys that you wouldn't expect to be letting you down. Shea Shannon, Kyle Perry letting you down so far this weekend. So I think there's a lot of learning lessons to be taken from this weekend. There is not a fire alarm going off in my head with this Husker baseball team based on one weekend, but the signs are there from what you saw last year, where it's just, you could never get a full team effort on any given day. It felt like that's how this first weekend has felt. We'll have to see how Will Bolt and his team can adjust. And I think going and getting one on a Monday would be huge.
Well, go get one, where
especially with how this game's gone, where you jump out.
It's been a marathon here.
You jump out and then you give up 8 runs in the 4th inning with a grand slam and a whole bunch of untimely base hits. You went through 4 pitchers in 1 inning in that bottom half of the 4th inning. And if they can battle back and win this game, it could give you some confidence moving forward. But on the other hand, if you start your season 0-4, what kind of message does that send to your team about who they are to start the year? 1-4 would be a disaster. 0-4 would be a disaster.
Well, yeah, freshman Dylan Carey's been good today. A solo shot, an RBI double. That helped pace Nebraska to jump out 3-0. And then it was 10-4 San Diego. I told you about Fisher about a half hour ago, hitting that bomb in the 6th. We're top of the 7th now. And Sartori sent a shot out. The outfielder misplayed. The ball hits to the fence. Bryce Matthews scores, as does Sartori. And as of about 5 minutes ago, Nebraska leading. The field goal is up and good, 13-10.
Bullpen's got to step up now. You got to close this game.
In the top of the 7th. Get some of Joe Boo's rum. Get a live chicken. And heck, go find a gardener snake.
And get 9 outs today. That's all you need. 9 outs. Which pitcher can get you 6 outs and what closer can step in and get 3?
We'll wind down this first hour. Coach McBride's on the way. It's Hail Varsity.
You've got your very own handyman to help remodel your home.
Bathroom remodel
Remodeling season is in full swing. Now's a great time to make some changes to your bathroom so it fits your family's needs, especially if you've decided to stay put in your home for a few more years.
At Handyman, we have what you need to make your bathroom beautiful and functional.
So take some measurements of your room and come share your ideas with us. Our remodeling experts will help you make a custom plan so you can get the right fixtures for your home.
Do it yourself or hire a professional. We'll get you started on the right foot.
We'll find stylish pieces to fit your budget. And with our price match guarantee, you can't go wrong by choosing Handyman.
Join us for our sink and shower sale, now through the end of March.
For the very best in bathrooms, come to Handyman, under the arch on Sun Valley Boulevard, Lincoln.
Handyman. Hi, I'm the conservation coach. We're on the road promoting Lower Platte South NRD's forestry programs. Did you know they sell seedlings to landowners? They've got low-cost options for less than $1 each. That's less than a cup of lemonade. You can buy seedlings online November through March. And check out cost sharing on bigger trees for civic groups who need lots. Get your baby trees and pick the forestry program that's right for you at lpsnrd.org.
Big features, big ink, big savings. That's what you get when you buy an HP printer at Staples. Like the HP Smart Tank 7301. You can connect, work, and boost your productivity. The HP Smart Tank delivers seamless printing and quality color documents at a low cost. Plus, you get 2 years of ink right out of the box. And now, for a limited time, save $90 on the HP Smart Tank 7301 at Staples. For the best deals on a huge selection of HP printers, go to Staples. Offer good in-store and online. Ends 2/25.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Hey, this is Kevin Love from the Cleveland Cavaliers. At times, life can feel scary, and we can get overwhelmed by anxiety. Mindfulness can help you get through these tough times. My nonprofit is partnering with Headspace to offer free content to help you stress less. It's as easy to do as this. Take a big, deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. Nebraska's not done. Charlie Fisher again, able to have a 2 RBI double moments ago, all the way to the wall. 17 hits for Big Red Baseball. They're up 15-10. And see if they can hang on. They may just need to put 20 up to be safe.
With how that bullpen's been performing this weekend, you're not 100% wrong. And I don't want to be too hard on this Husker baseball team. That's why I keep on prefacing this with opening weekend is already tough enough whenever you're a team from the Midwest that hasn't got a chance to get outside all that much, despite the fact the past few weeks have been pretty beautiful in terms of weather. You haven't got a chance to be outside as much as a team from San Diego. San Diego was a great team last year. They brought back a lot of talent. So this Husker baseball team's learning a lot about themselves as this season goes on, with all the new pieces and all the new faces and just what type of baseball team you want to be. But you don't want to start off a season 0-4, because that can just set the table for a lot more challenges than on the field as the year goes on. So you hope they can get one here. You hope the offense can pick up the bullpen, and no matter how many runs the bullpen gives up, that the offense can step up and get enough, because that'll build some trust between the team. And I think that's what's lacking with this team right now, as we kind of laid out last segment. It's just you can't get everyone on the team performing at the same time. Whenever trust fails you in baseball, the team will fail you as well.
So I got a weird question, but talked about this on the morning show. And there are tryouts for the new Cadbury animal. It can still be the bunny, but and you're used to it with Easter coming around. You always see that overweight rabbit sitting there doing the same commercial for years. Well, Cadbury's looking at wanting a new mascot or spokes animal.
We need a blockbuster trade is what we need. We need Cadbury to trade the Cadbury bunny to Geico for the Geico gecko. A straight swap.
You want that done?
Maybe throw some picks in there. Maybe throw
some policies to be used later.
Policies to be used later, and then they'll fund the vending machines as well for Geico. For
where I'm going with this is they want a rescue animal.
Oh, that's less fun than my idea.
Well,
it's more important than my idea, but it's less fun than my idea.
My point here is, do I dust off the old leash, and do we get Gertie some FaceTime? My German Shepherd. She's a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
She has giant ears like a bunny, and I don't know that she would mind so well, but she's kind of cute. She's smart. She'd end up probably eating all the chocolate, and then I'd have to take her to the vet.
As you said, that's the big problem with just having a dog in general being your spokes animal, is the fact that they can't eat the product. That's kind of huge. But you know what? Maybe Gertie could work. I think she might need just a little bit of
coaching.
Coaching was one way to put it. Yeah, I was gonna say she needs a little more time with strangers.
Yeah,
she gets a little skittish around large crowds, and I think that's kind of important whenever you're going to be going.
She sounds like she's going to take your head off. You know, she does that well. A reminder to get buckled up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. It prevents injuries. Only if properly worn. Buckle up. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. So we'll get Coach McBride's take. I know he's been watching hoops. Good story today with Coach Rule and his plan for success and winning. See if we get any more stories from the desert. With Coach McBride, and we'll have to ask him about scorpion hunting. Has he ever partaken? Hour 2, Hail Varsity continues, presented by Currency.
You ever get the feeling that the world is being held together with duct tape? Every day we're thrown some new meaningless drama in the fake news to distract us from the reality we're all about to face. Between the government trying to print their way out of debt, military conflicts, the disintegration of our most trusted institutions, and a looming food shortage, preparedness is no longer a choice. It's a necessity. You can trust My Patriot Supply. Our emergency food kits come packed with tasty meals, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one kit for each in your family. Self-reliance is the only alternative to government food lines. Time is running out. Become ungovernable. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com and save on dozens of different emergency food kits while you can. These kits are in stock, ship fast, and arrive in unmarked boxes for your privacy. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com before the next crisis strikes. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Hello, I'm Jose Hernandez, and I have been using a wheelchair since my accident in 1995.
My name is Andrea Dalzell, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 5 years old.
I guess if I had one message for the general public, it would be that I appreciate your help. But please, ask first.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that I've actually got everything under control.
I think people get nervous. They don't know how to act, so they pretend I'm not there.
What probably bothers me the most is when waiters talk to my companion and not directly to me.
I think everyone with a disability can relate to that parking spot problem.
We know you're just parking in that disabled spot for a second, but please, don't. We're just looking for the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
United Spinal Association is dedicated to enhancing the quality of life of people living with spinal cord injuries and disorders. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
This is your station for local news, talk, sports, and weather. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. President Biden's in Warsaw after an unannounced visit to Ukraine's capital. Tomorrow, there are meetings marking a year since Russia invaded Ukraine. ABC's Patrick Reevell in Ukraine.
Very clearly, this was about these images. They're showing this united front. And yeah, there does seem to be a strong personal connection. And simply, I think, ultimately, there's a lot of gratitude, perhaps on both sides. But certainly, Volodymyr Zelensky, I think, like many Ukrainians, is very grateful to the United States.
ABC's Inez de la Quatera traveling with President Biden in Warsaw.
Biden will meet with members of the Bucharest Nine. That is a group of 9 NATO allies on the eastern flank. He's also going to be meeting with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. And so I think you can expect to hear a lot about NATO unity, how NATO is stronger and more united than ever.
More deaths and injuries in Turkey after today's 6.3 magnitude earthquake, hitting about 2 weeks after the last disastrous quake. Researchers announce a 5th case of what they call a cure. ABC's Tom Rivers.
After undergoing stem cell transplant over 4 years ago, which is typically only performed in cancer patients who don't have other options, the patient is now HIV-free. It's a high-risk procedure that effectively replaces a person's immune system. The primary goal is to cure someone's cancer, but the procedure has also led to an HIV cure in a handful of cases.
Update on unusual murder from ABC's Alex Stone.
Chuck, about to begin right now. Sheriff's investigators here in L.A. County will be announcing details of the arrest and the case. A SWAT team moved into an apartment this morning, arresting a suspect in the murder of 69-year-old Auxiliary Bishop David O'Connell. He served the Archdiocese of L.A. for 45 years. Shot and killed inside of his home owned by the church on Saturday night. The suspect was interviewed by detectives over the last couple of hours. He's now in custody. Chuck.
ABC's Alex Stone. You're listening to ABC News.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News. The driver killed in a crash in western Otoe County Friday afternoon has been identified as 37-year-old Jennifer Hughes of Lincoln. The Otoe County Sheriff's Office says Hughes was pronounced dead at the scene at the intersection of Highways 2 and 43. Investigators say Hughes was not wearing a seatbelt when she pulled out onto eastbound Highway 2 from southbound Highway 43. Hughes' vehicle was then hit by a westbound pickup. The driver of that truck, also from Lincoln, was taken to a hospital with unknown injuries. Deputies say alcohol does not appear to be involved. No one was hurt when a 2-alarm fire broke out Saturday morning in 2 units under construction at the East Lake Flats Apartments near 91st and Pine Lake Road. According to LFR, a faulty heater is to blame for starting the fire, and the 2 units affected were a near total loss. The heater was being used to try and cure drywall since the building was under construction. A Sarpy County judge is expected to decide tomorrow whether a mother of a missing La Vista boy can be in charge of his legal affairs and be able to declare him dead nearly 2 years after he went missing. Tammy Larson is asking a Sarpy County judge to appoint her in charge of her son's affairs and rule him no longer missing. 12-year-old Ryan Larson, who has autism, was last seen May 17th, 2021, when he left school during lunchtime. Lincoln Parks and Recreation started a master planning process to help revitalize Van Dorn Park off of 9th and Van Dorn, according to Parks and Rec Director Maggie Stuckey-Ross. And because of the reconfiguration of the 9th and 10th Street corridors, it's changed where there's no direct pedestrian access.
We're looking at access challenges, of course, with the new Nebraska Parkway and the new South Beltway. It's changing the traffic pressure on those roads, and so that could potentially change some access points as well.
You can check out information at parks.lincoln.ne.gov and submit comments online to the Parks office until next Monday. Lincoln's first forecast for tonight will have a mostly clear sky, a few clouds, and a low of 25, 50 with sunshine for tomorrow. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
When a loved one dies, your life changes. Accepting the loss can be difficult.
Hi, I'm Tom Roper. You can find support through the free Roper & Sons Grief Group Counseling Sessions every month. Grief group sessions are held on the first and third Sundays and are led by Melissa Thorne, a licensed mental health therapist. Melissa helps individuals work through their stages of grief and loss in a safe environment. Find information on dates and times at roperandsons.com. Roper & Sons, helping our community move forward together.
We now join the Painters LLC morning meeting.
Crew, we've got a big job on our hands. We're painting the stadium. They're going with red, right? I think they're going with fuchsia.
Okay, so maybe your project isn't that big, but it feels that way. It's time to bring in the Painters LLC. They'll listen to your vision for the space before beginning.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at HVarsity Radio. Call in at 402-489-1240 or at 800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Thanks for hanging out. It's Hour 2 at Hail Varsity Radio. We're presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. We welcome in Mr. Blackshirt. It's a Monday with Charlie. Coach Charlie McBride joins us. Coach, how are we doing?
Good. It's looking outside and there's not a ripple in the lake. It's so calm.
That is good news. It's 55.
There's no ice.
55 degrees here.
Is it? It's 36 here, but it's...
We got him beat. We got him beat.
Actually, he's on the lake. He wins. Well, good. No wind, no storms. That's
no wind, and I can't believe it. We're going to get paid for this. Somebody's going to kill us. I mean, this doesn't last. Not in Michigan. This place is a dump, man, when it comes to snow.
Well,
that's what I said. We put a new sign up on the Michigan thing. It says, "Welcome to Michigan." And it says, what does it say? Not the good life. Yeah, something to that effect. And then it says, if you don't like it, turn around.
It's not for everybody. You just send them on their way. I like it. So, Coach, I gotta get your opinion here. My son flies back from Arizona tonight. He's been down there visiting my mother and great grandma, and he's got some other friends. His girlfriend's family's down there as well. So he went out Friday night scorpion hunting.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I wanted to. If I get down there and I get the invite, I'd like to go try it sometime. It's old hat for you, scorpions and rattlesnakes, right?
Yeah, you go. Well, scorpions are good because you can use black lights on them. You'll see. You think there aren't any around? Stick the black light down there and find out. You're going to find out you're walking on them. You don't even know
it. So what's the trick?
I hate them.
I know you do.
The bark scorpions are the worst. They climb up walls and stuff, and you'd be laying in bed and they're on your ceiling and they're on your walls, and they don't get in bed with you. They don't like that part. They just like climbing around.
Okay. So how dare I say deadly are these scorpions? I mean, is every scorpion the same with venom?
I don't know. I've been bit 3 times, and they don't do anything. I mean, it doesn't feel good.
Well,
they swell up like crazy.
Yeah,
but I there probably are some that do. I've never heard of it. Now a snake. We have a lady out here that's been bit by the same snake in her yard 3 times.
Really?
And they have pictures of her in the hospital, and her legs are swollen and black and blue, and
that's no good.
See, that's the point where I'd take the lawnmower out for retribution after that.
Yeah, I go after the snake. How's that thing still around to bite 3 times?
I tell you what, you better get a flashlight. and you better wear shoes, because you'd step on those babies, and they won't if you're not bothering them, they're not going to bother you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what happens is people startle them, come up on them, walking through the weeds and stuff, and you know, all of a sudden come on them, and then they think you're attacking them. But other than that, you know, we haven't come out. We just call the fire department to get them out of there, because if you get it, like if you have them in your garage or somewhere around your house, they come and get they get them, and then whoever's the rookie fireman has to catch them and put them in the tank, and then they take them out in the desert. They just let them go. They don't kill them.
It's the wildlife hour here with Coach Charlie McBride.
It's Wild Kingdom here with Coach McBride here.
It's a new segment.
I like it. Well, did you watch Nebraska basketball yesterday?
I did not. I watched about 10 minutes of the beginning of it, and then I was ordered to do some stuff. So I was moving my storage shed around, and I had to do it because the weather. I was scared of the weather, so I did it. But I saw a lot of the previews because I get the Big Ten channel. So I saw, and saw him talk about it, and saw, Hoiberg after the game talk, and and his son, and all of them. So I saw some of that stuff. And then they'll replay the game this week.
Yeah, no, they had a heck of a win. It was overtime. The place was rocking, and it was just awesome. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the satisfaction you have as a coach and a teacher when you overcome some odds, right? When you overcome some injuries, when somebody reaches their potential. That element of coaching, I'm sure you've had that experience a lot of times with a lot of kids over the years.
Well, that's part of your salary, just enjoying that part of it, because that's why you're in coaching. I mean, that, it seems like, with me, I've always been kind of a guy that liked the underdogs and likes to see them come from behind and stuff like that. And, I watched it happen in the World Series. You watch it happen all over the place at times. And, a lot of people think they're going to roll their head on the field. Well, they come on ahead, that's good. And, they lose they become equal. And, then they don't pay much attention. That's why every game, every practice for a championship, if you practice that way, and you'll play that way. But if you start, messing around in practice, especially in football, and guys don't really focus on practice and things like that. And that's what I think that of all the places that I coached at, I think Nebraska was the best. I mean, those kids, they practice every week. They didn't care who they were playing. There was a few times that I can think of maybe that I had to get after them for, just kind of wandering around. But as a rule, that doesn't happen.
Coach, I want to get your take on a very specific moment that happened in that Husker basketball game yesterday. And just from your own time as a coach, I want you to take us inside the mind of Fred Hoiberg. There was a moment in overtime right at the end where Sam Hoiberg, Fred's son, comes and gets a steal. After everyone kind of counted Sam Hoiberg out as being a guy who could contribute to this Husker basketball team. He's been down on the bench most of his career, but then he stepped up in a big way over the past couple weeks, gets a steal last night, takes the other end, gets a layup, and really seals the game for Nebraska. From a coach's perspective, do you think Coach Hoiberg was able to enjoy that moment as he should have as a father, or are you too focused on the game? I'm just watching that moment. I was wondering what's going through the mind of Fred.
You just enjoy it that time and watch it. I mean, it's those are the kind of things right there that that make coaching so much fun, because and then after the game, when he explained it, he said the way they were, he just caught them in how they were passing the ball. And he said, I'm going to get one of these. And he did. I guess he missed a couple before, but on his mind, he's going to get one of these. And he did. And that's, that kind of, and a lot of times you'll hear somebody talk about some players are good at what we call mental visualization, where they visualize themselves doing that off the court. And you can imagine what happens in football when you're teaching a fundamental, when kids will be able to visualize themselves doing something off the field. That's like practicing, because you're putting it in your subconscious basically, and all of a sudden that's what happens. You repetition yourself, so it's just almost like practicing. And so he mentally he's gone through that stuff before. He's the son of a coach, so he's talked about those things to his son, and he probably did it in high school, and visualized himself and saw himself scoring at the end of the game or doing whatever, and those are things that win for you, guys that I know they're going to do. He said, I knew I was going to get one, and so you knew where his mind was.
Charlie McBride's with us, a Monday with Charlie. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, want to talk about the topic of toughness. What was the method? How did you guys make tough football teams? And I bring it up because that's a part of this basketball conversation. It's also been an ongoing conversation with Coach Rule about what he wants in a football team. So let's talk about the culture of toughness. How did you guys go about it?
Well, toughness is a thing that, you can look at it just on the field, or you can look at it that way. I tried to go from scratch, and simple things that you do the things that are right. If you don't, you're not very tough.
Right.
I mean, I kind of sometimes explained it like if you're in the morning and your alarm runs off, and you just turn around and lay over there and just push the button for another 5 minutes. As far as I'm concerned, you can put your guts in a thimble, and because the guy's not tough enough to do the things that are right. And that works into the things too. Do the things that are right, and don't sit and say, well, I'll do it in a minute. It's like the old trick. How many times your mother said, take the garbage out, and you said, well, I'll do it in a minute, Ma. That's when you get your butt kicked.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. So, and all those things, when you talk to them, sometimes they start looking at themselves. Well, I'll tell you what, here's the good one. I'll study in the morning. I'm going to stay out. I'm going to stay out tonight. I was going to study, but I'm going to stay out tonight. I'll study in the morning. Yeah. I did that trick once and went ahead and got an F.
Yeah.
And so, that's what happens. So the whole key to it is you do the things that are right off the field too, and on the field, being tough is the more of a physical is the physical part of it, but it all folds into the same thing. And if you're not going to study your plays or your defenses or your stuff like that, that's the beginning of it. You're doing the things that are right, because you're a tough guy. Even though I don't want to go to the weight room today, we'll go over there and do it, and you'll find out. And some guys will come back and say, I had the best workout I ever had, or something like that. And when, in a game, you get toughness as you grow up. I think a lot of times, some guys are just naturally, rockheads, and they're going to blow up the world. And I had a little of that in me, which didn't help.
Sure.
It got me hurt. But, you got to do it at the right times, and you have to be a leader at doing it. And I always said, keep your mouth shut and just play.
Charlie McBride's with us on Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, I'm going to ask you this before we say goodbye. It's an NFL question, but what do you do if you're Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers?
He give him some camping stuff, and tell him to go camping next year. I mean, you got to have, listen, that rubs off on the team.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes those guys get tired of that stuff, and they just and they turn around on you, and it's kind of like, well, you don't want to be with us, we don't want to be with you either, and so I don't know his personality or theirs, and they may know him better than we all know. It may be just a front of some kind. I don't know that at this point it's to make more money, because he turns down what, 60 million or some crazy number if he leaves or something like that. But it's a hard thing for players. I think some guys that have been around, that they're serious about winning, they're serious about going to the Super Bowl, and you got a quarterback who's making noise all the time and doing crazy stuff. I think part of it's not his show. I think he's part of the whole thing, but I think because they don't really, it's hard when you're up there. The town owns them.
Yeah.
They're publicly, so, there's not, they hire a guy, and, he may not he may not get along, but he's making money, and that's his job. And, and it doesn't work. The organizations that have good people around and always have, I know the Chiefs, their owners they don't ever get involved in the coaching part.
Gotcha.
They don't ever touch it. So, that's something that's I think is important. And I think in Green Bay, it's a little harder than most teams.
Well, we'll see what happens with old Aaron Rodgers as he gets done with his darkness retreat. Charlie McBride is with us a Monday with Charlie. We've talked scorpion hunting, a team of toughness, and doing the little things. Coach, you keep that good weather up there, okay?
Sure, I hope so. That'd be great, if we keep it like this. But it isn't going to happen.
We'll check in with you next Monday. Thanks for the time today, Coach.
Okay, fellas. Thanks a lot.
See you, bud.
We'll talk to you next week. Okay, bye now.
There he is, Mr. Blanchard, Charlie McBride.
Hail Varsity is a must-have for true Husker fans. Get a monthly magazine that'll make checking the mail fun again. Daily analysis, the breaking news, including the inside scoop on recruiting on HailVarsity.com. And every June, that's right, every June, you'll get the Nebraska Football Yearbook, a season preview completely dedicated to Nebraska football. That's as comprehensive as national previews. Remember, get to HailVarsity.com.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known. But what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months. When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
New voices and a new home at 101.5. Get the latest on Husker sports and more. Mornings with Coffee and Cream featuring Damon Benning at 9. Bill Hooks and Will Wilson get you the morning hookup at 10. And KFOR's own Chris Schmidt wraps up the day with Hail Varsity Radio at 4. News, talk, sports, and weather. KFOR. Now at 101.5 FM and 1240 AM.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out Monday, Hail Varsity Radio, with you on President's Day. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal is back at it. Unfortunately for Nebraska, the firemen need to be called because the Huskers are now tied with San Diego 16-16.
Jesus.
Drake Keeler's done a just
wait. Update. The game is now over.
What happened?
Due to travel considerations, today's game has ended in a tie after 7 innings.
You can't tie in baseball.
I guarantee those umpires were in hell today, though. It's Monday
Not
on a
as much
4-game series. They've taken work off to play this game. They got to get back for their job on Tuesday, and they're sitting there like, man, we're 5 hours in.
It started at 2 Central Time, so Drake Keeler with Hail Varsity, and follow Drake at Drake Keeler, does an awesome job. So let's just run this down for you. Nebraska jumped out 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Diego came back, and at one point 10-4. All right. Fisher hit a bomb. Nebraska got rolling, went up 11-10, and then went and extended their lead to 13-10. Then it was 15-10. And then at one point it was 16-10. And then San Diego is roared back. Okay. Nebraska walked in a run to make it 16-10 before the third out. This was about 15 minutes ago. Nebraska had a pretty big lead heading into the 7th. Shanneman came in, started the frame with a hit by pitch and a walk. So he puts 2 on.
I was same problems for him on Saturday.
Another hit by pitch loaded the bases. A third batter was nearly hit, but he ended up walking in a run. Ornelas came in, bases loaded, no out. 5 consecutive walks, hit by pitches. Ornelas walks the first batter he faces. It's now 16-12. You had almost another hit by pitch. So a sac fly made it 16-3. And Jack Costello, go buy a lottery ticket, bro. Because he had already hit a grand slam. And then Costello hit a 3-run bomb to tie it up at 16. That was about 10 minutes ago. And due to travel concerns, Nebraska goes 0-3-1.
Yeah, that's
in their weekend series, and this is not the start Will Bolt wants. You got some growing pains. I don't know who's walking home. I don't know who's got a bus ticket versus a plane ticket, but it's all sorts of no good for Nebraska baseball to start the year. Will and company may head down to Tijuana and walk this one off.
It's called travel considerations, but as you're listing off there, a lot of these pitchers are guys that have already pitched before this weekend, because I know Shea that was his problem. I believe it was on Saturday as well, as he was wild. A couple wild pitches, allowed a run to score. He had a hit by batter back then, or hit by pitch back then as well. And then today, more problems with control. I know his breaking ball over the weekend just hasn't been looking good. Didn't have much control of the slider. Sounds like a similar story. I wonder if this is a case of the coaches getting together and saying, yeah, we do have a flight out of here, and we're also out of pitchers. So maybe let's just end this one here, because this game is going to be 30-30 if we keep on going with the kind of pitchers that we have left in the bullpen. So I do wonder about that. But this is definitely one of those games where the umpires like sitting behind the plate, where it's 16-14, like, man, just throw a strike. Just throw a strike, man. I want to get out of here. I want to get back to my family. I don't want this game to be 30-30. And those umpires are paid handsomely at the college level for what they do. So I'm sure it wasn't them calling the game saying I got to go home, but man, that's just one of those painful games where nobody can get an out. The runs keep on coming, and you're just wondering if that game is ever going to end. So mercifully it does, but ties in my opinion. It's not as bad as loss, but it's pretty dang close.
It's awful if you're up 16 to 10.
That feeling of
on
like,
top of coming back from being down 10-4. Nebraska, the line is this: 16-16, 7 innings. You can't start a game after 5 p.m. Central. The finale includes 17 hits for Nebraska batters, 11 walks by Nebraska pitchers, a rally from down 6, and then a blown lead while you're up 6. It's a drunk baseball game. Nebraska is going to be at South Alabama next weekend. They have plenty to work on. And this isn't some new guys. These are guys that you're hoping to solidify their role.
I mean, Shaman was a weekend starter last year.
Mm-hmm.
And moving back to the bullpen, you can have some struggles changing roles like that. It's different coming into the beginning of a game. And I'm sure Jabba Chamberlain can speak on that as well. The kind of adjustment that it takes to go from being a starter to being a reliever. It takes some time. It does. And it can take some growing pains.
Simba has a compliment for you on Twitter at HVarsity Radio, at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence. Wow. Herbal Essence is taking this tie game better than I expected. 2 segments ago, he was ready to give up on the year.
I was trying to preface that by saying it's just a bad opening week.
The umpire came out in him. And he's like, he's looking at his watch. We gots to go. The umpire came out. Don't kid yourself. There's some tears inside for Elijah Herbal with Husker baseball and how this series and weekend went.
But I also know that feeling as an umpire.
But as an umpire, he's all about getting out on time.
I've had some marathons where it's just like, Christ, can this game end already? I'm missing the Avs Stanley Cup Finals game right now. True story, actually. So if anyone can do some math on which game I was umpiring back then, be my guest. But yeah, like a 3.5-hour marathon where I'm missing the Stanley Cup Finals with my Avs in there. I'm like, can this game please? And I've been there. I have done that. So I feel for the umpires definitely in a game like this where it's just 45-minute half innings because no one can get out and everyone's getting walked and everyone getting base hits. It turns into a bit of a grind back there behind the plate.
Well, we'll hear from Will Bolt this week. All right.
I'm curious as to what Will's reaction to the first weekend is going to be.
Probably, and I don't know that he's like violent. I mean, no one will a little bit. Like there's a long talking to in the outfield, probably. Just because they can't start an inning after 5 o'clock doesn't mean the old left field meeting is going to end anytime soon. Full of chewings.
Well, and there are positives to take away from this weekend, just not on your record, not in your wins and losses. There's no positives to take away from there. So there's positives with the fact that, yeah, your bats were able to get it alive as the weekend went on with 8 runs scored yesterday, 16 runs scored today. And that's also a product of getting deeper into San Diego's bullpen. But you got some runs there. The main one where I think Will's going to be very frustrated is with the bullpen, especially with the amount of experience you have in that bullpen. They were bad all weekend, and that's sugarcoating it. Maybe that's maybe being generous saying they were bad all weekend. They really have a lot to improve upon.
You know what to fix.
But you also have you had a couple solid starting pitching performances, and you don't want to let those guys get too deep early in the season with their arms still getting accustomed to the rigors of a season. So you can't let those guys go too deep. But you did have some solid starting pitching performances over the weekend. So another positive you can take away, despite the fact you're 0-3-1.
Yeah, 0-3-1. There we go. Let's get some more from. Well, check that. Fred Hoiberg, a happy coach in Fred Hoiberg, as Nebraska able to outlast Maryland. They've won 3 in a row. They are 4-3 in their last 7. Dare to dream, Husker basketball fan. I thought, listen, 4.5 points. That's fishy. Maryland's going to come in here. I don't want to say drill Nebraska, but yesterday felt like the type of game that a team like Maryland is big and talented and as physical as they are. They're going to come in and win by about 10 because that's what they do. Nebraska, despite foul trouble, Nebraska, despite down key people, they've adapted and adjusted to what and who they are. Great analysis from Beau Reed in hour 1. So check that interview out. Podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play with Hail Varsity Radio, the whole show or the segment there. But Fred spent some time talking about Sam Hoiberg and his shot in the arm, obviously defensively, but also coming up with that key steal, some key free throws, 9 points for Sammy Fred 2.0, Mayor 2.0 off the bench for Nebraska yesterday.
Yeah, Jameer Young is one of the toughest covers in this league. He's an all-league player, and this team's playing great basketball right now. And, Sam, I thought, really defended that last possession well. He's still capable of making that shot, but I thought he did as good a job as he possibly could contesting, one of the best players in the league. And then those two plays in overtime, that charge that he took, and then obviously the steal after the timeout to put us up 3, just huge plays. And it's rewarding to see when guys go out and work as hard as Sam does, as Jamarcus does, as Blaze does, and for it to pay off. Blaze, I thought, was unbelievable again for us. We thought we could play big for stretches in this game, whether they played Emilian and Reese together, or I thought Derek did a really good job on Scott as well. But
so we'll hear a little bit more from Fred in a moment, but some great compliments from Derek Walker on Sam Hoiberg, and a tweet out by Coach Rule just moments ago applauding the type of culture that Fred Hoiberg has. Listen, you can't always say that about what Nebraska basketball's been. They've got it right this year with the kids and the mentality, and just kind of an all-for-one attitude. Here's Derek Walker.
I'm proud of these guys, man. I'm proud of him for making plays, bro, because I don't see him in practice. He plays hard. Sometimes we got to tell him to tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, they get mad at me.
But he plays hard, and he deserves everything. He deserves to get that steal. He puts in the work, man, and I'm just so proud of him.
So let's hear cut 7. Do we have time for Fred? Let's get there.
Yeah, we do.
And it was, and Tom Chattel asked this to Coach Hoiberg yesterday after the game. Did you believe that this team could do what they're doing? I mean, are you surprised they're doing what they're doing?
I just, a lot of people were saying, when we had the injuries, what could have been, and my message to the guys is what can still be. And those guys fight like hell. They practice as hard as anybody, and they are resilient, and they do have some toughness and character to them, and you have to have it. You'll steal some wins if you go out and play hard and compete every night, and that's what our guys are doing. So, we had a couple tough ones, obviously, right after the injury. I thought we were a little bit in mourning, to be honest with you. But, once we got one with this group, then they just kept fighting. I think they believe now that they can do it, and that's a big part of it. So just got to keep fighting, man. Keep fighting, clawing, swinging. We're going to have to win ugly, which at times it was tonight. But, again, this team has shown it can win in a lot of different ways. Offense was really pretty in the last game against Rutgers, not so much tonight. But, we found a way to get it done with toughness.
Yeah, amen. You just keep finding a way. Brennan chimes in these Nebraska winter conditioning videos with Nebraska football. Thinks Nebraska can beat anybody in the nation. You get fired up for it.
Brennan wants Bama.
Not yet. How'd that go for K-State?
Let's watch the spring game first.
Let's watch the spring game. Let's worry about tomorrow. Hail Varsity continues, presented by Currency.
Girls District Basketball Wednesday night, the A3 semifinal with Lincoln Northeast hosting Omaha Benson. You can catch all the action right here with coverage beginning at 6.
FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Hello, neighbor. It's Animal for Super C Convenience Stores. Super C is hiring friendly, helpful neighborhood people to join their Best of Lincoln team. You're going to receive competitive starting pay, great benefits, holiday pay, cash bonuses, free uniform, and the opportunity to advance with a local family-owned Nebraska business. Super C taking every precaution to keep their patrons and employees safe and healthy. If you're looking for fun, friendly, and safe work, apply today. Pick up an application at any of their 10 locations or apply online, superc.net.
Family visited the forest. It's a place of wonder and imagination for the whole family, where stories come to life. And it's closer than you think. Ready to plan your next visit? Make the forest part of your story today at a local park near you, or find one at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Chuck Severson, ABC News.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor at just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Camping, hunting, and fishing. Nebraskans love the great outdoors. Hi, this is Dale Johnson. We talk about it Saturday mornings at 9:45 on Outdoor Nebraska with the pros from Nebraska Game and Parks on KFOR.
He's the young, energetic, fresh voice of conservative reason. Stay connected with Ben Shapiro, weekday evenings from 8 till 9, with Lincoln's new generation of talk radio, KFOR, FM 103.3, 1240 AM.
145 over 92. 180 over 111. I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest and then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. It's Hail Varsity. We're presented by Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240. And good stuff from Scott Docterman as you have the votes are in with who you want. You said we want Bama. No, we don't. I would visit Bama. I would like to go see an Iron Bowl sometime between Alabama and Auburn. I think that'd be great.
I would like to note the only reason I think I'd want to go to Alabama is to see football. I don't think there's much else I'd like to see in Alabama.
Golf.
Is there good golf down there?
Great golf down there, I hear. I don't know. Never been. We got to go hit Lars up. Lars, we're coming to your lake house and you're taking us to play 18. No discussion. Okay, so poll's been put out. And the total top votes were this, with who Nebraska should get. And you think the schedule will shake out 3-3-6, something like that, where you have 3 permanents, 3 crossover, and then of the 6, you're kind of doing a rotation, home and away.
So that would leave you with 3 games per year among that 6.
Yes. So the top votes are this. It's Iowa, then it's Minnesota, then it's Wisconsin, then it's SC, and then it's UCLA. Those are the votes that came in for Nebraska. They rate Iowa in a pretty much 20-1 margin. That has shifted. For me, it was always, I like Wisconsin because they're the Big Red of the Big Ten because of Barry Alvarez, and he made Wisconsin in Nebraska's image and all that. Well, Barry's retired. Wisconsin's got Fickle, and it's not that they're not going to be physical and run the football, but it isn't going to be 2 tight ends in I formation. They've got an air raid offensive coordinator now, so they're going to modernize. Wisconsin's going to try to anyway. But things have heated up with Iowa. I mean, it's been chippy. You've had a lot of heartbreak and then absolute jubilee with the win in Iowa City last year with the Hawkeyes having a chance to go to the Big Ten title game. You go outlast them there on their home field and you go party in their student section or at least the visitor section. Let me rephrase that. The visitor section with the Heroes Trophy. It was emotional. It was really, really cool for all those Nebraska kids to finally beat Iowa for the first time since 2014 with Kenny Bell. So Iowa, no shock. Wisconsin comes in as the second choice. I don't know, man. I think Minnesota, second choice is Minnesota here. I misspoke. It's Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, USC, UCLA. That makes sense. There's a real, this guy's a screwball type attitude towards PJ Fleck. Right? You want to beat the guy because he annoys you. And it really sucks to lose to the guy, but he's been really, really good.
Okay, so me and my roommate, assuming that there is a pod system, which, as you say, you have the pod of 4, you play all 3 of those teams. You have 3 protected crossovers, and you have 3 of the 6 remaining teams you play twice every 4 years. So we did that system. I'm actually really proud. We have an entire whiteboard in my basement somewhere. I got to go find it, where we laid out what makes the most sense. I think it doesn't make much sense actually to put Nebraska in the same pod as Wisconsin and Iowa when you think about it from a TV rating standpoint. I think those are protected rivalries, but I think you do a pod Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois. I think that's
that's
a pod that makes sense, but then Nebraska gets the protected crossovers of Wisconsin, Iowa, and then probably Minnesota as your third. And you put Nebraska in the pod with USC, UCLA, and then pick a 4th team, maybe Purdue, someone who's not that great. Because I think from a TV ratings point of view, in terms of like a helmet game, it makes sense to have Nebraska play USC and UCLA every single year. You got to have USC and UCLA probably have a protected crossover with one of either Ohio State or Michigan, again, for TV ratings.
No, you need the helmet. Yeah, you need the helmet game for sure. And that's why you bring these 2 in.
And I think it makes the most sense with Nebraska not having these long tenured ties to certain schools, certain rivalries, that you put them in that pod with USC and UCLA. And then you give them protected crossovers with whoever Nebraska wants, which, as we've seen, it would appear to be Wisconsin and Iowa. I think that makes the most sense in my own head.
The guy you want to beat and shut up is Fleck. Okay. I mean, the people have spoken. It's Iowa, it's Minnesota, Iowa with the border and rivalry thing, and the way you've lost those games. Okay. The fact that Iowa's come in and taken some of your best in-state, or maybe you didn't think they were your best in state, but damn it, they still played and made big plays in the Nebraska-Iowa game. That's a no-brainer. UCLA, to me, and I know USC's got more juice. They're a big dog. They're a Rose Bowl team. They're top 5, top 10. They're a better brand football-wise than UCLA, but Nebraska's got a ton of history. And you played UCLA for years in the 70s. You played them in 2 different home and homes in the 80s, right? Yeah, you played them a couple of times in the 90s, and then you also played them when Beau was here, home and away. You went 0-2 against him. But no, UCLA's big time. I think UCLA I would take UCLA over USC just because of the history, and it's still going to be a helmet game with those 2 brands.
I personally think that just from a Big Ten leadership point of view, you have to have Nebraska play both of those teams every single year.
Okay.
Because I don't think you want to put those teams in a pod with Michigan or Ohio State, at least as it stands right now. You don't want them to go up against the big dogs right away. Maybe have again, USC gets Ohio State.
What is this protection you speak of? With the new kid in the conference, that's not supposed to happen. It hasn't happened in Nebraska.
It hasn't happened in Nebraska, but
fed to the wolves.
You do need to have, I think, conference protection with your TV rights. TV rights are now going to be the be-all, end-all of your conferences moving forward. So I think you have to have matchups between USC and the likes of Ohio State, Michigan, Nebraska, Penn State.
You can't overdo it. You can't ask Ohio State if they're your national champion favorite or Michigan to go play UCLA and USC.
Yes, you can't have them in the same pod.
You get them to play one. They'll still have Penn State on the schedule, right? They'll still have Michigan on the schedule. So you got about 3 winnable or losable games a year, but that's okay. That's how it should be. You should have 3 or 4 games that are coin flips every year on your schedule, and you build up. The non-conference game was always for Nebraska. They would schedule to be showcased either out on the West Coast, right? Or they'd bring somebody in from, back in the day, they scheduled a couple of SEC squads, more so South Carolina, just to get some exposure down there in the Florida footprint. And then the bowl game would typically take care of it. And then you would have a matchup against Texas, and that was taken care of when you merged in the Big 12.
Interesting question for you here, though. Do you think moving forward, the Big Ten is going to want to keep Nebraska, Iowa on Black Friday?
I hope so.
Or do you want to put a bigger helmet game there, and you put Nebraska up against USC or UCLA on Black Friday, which would then be very interesting with one of those schools coming to Nebraska once every 2 years.
Too much juice already. The Midwest is in this footprint of the Big Ten. People are used to Nebraska, Iowa. It's a natural border rival. It's had great games or heartbreaking games, depending on who you root for. No, you don't screw with it. Now, what you can do is doubleheader it and make the 405 battle for Pasadena or LA supremacy. Throw them at night.
That makes sense.
On Black Friday.
One thing I will say, you have to have Michigan and Ohio State in the same pod. You have to.
Yep. No discussion.
Public schools are the cornerstones of our communities, and it's communities that ensure students have great public schools. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Learning happens at home, in school, and everywhere in between. We all have a role to play in supporting student learning in the classroom and beyond. Help us make this the best school year yet.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Hey, come see us for our winter clearance sale. This is Chase over at Brown Shoe Fit. We have hundreds of men's and women's fall and winter shoes on sale. With all your favorite brands, including Sorel, Bourne, Clark's, Cobb Hill, Riker, and Brooks. Save on winter boots, dress shoes, casual shoes, slippers, and many more. Brown Shoe Fit in Lincoln, located on the 66 and just about Q.
What is dedication?
I am the father of a 9-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old little boy. And I find fatherhood both relentlessly challenging and relentlessly rewarding. My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much, from the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. It really is so special, and boy, is it exhausting. One thing that I fear about being a parent is the future for my children. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings. But I'm also hopeful that the future holds a more inclusive and compassionate world for them.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Joe Cordell with the law firm Cordell & Cordell. When the prospect of divorce becomes a reality, you need a partner that you can count on. If you're a man in this situation, consider contacting Cordell & Cordell. We've helped men navigate complex legal matters for 30 years.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Lincoln area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508. Online at CordellCordell.com.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, did you get in line and publicly flog the NBA All-Star game? Did you watch any of it?
I did not watch.
No, I mean, I watch for the reaction. I want my 2 minutes of Twitter Charles Barkley gold.
Dude, I watched the draft yesterday briefly, and then I did not watch the game because the draft is more exciting than the game. There's
184 to 175. I did not. It's the worst All-Star game ever. It's garbage.
Oh yeah. Michael Malone, Nuggets head coach.
Yeah, he lost
coached
his
the West
mind.
after the game.
It was
He said
embarrassment.
He said that was the worst game of basketball I've ever coached, and I don't think there's any way you can fix it.
No, you should. I mean, they don't want to be there. They're just there to jack around. And meanwhile, you got Utah that finally gets to host one. I mean, it had been, I don't know if Utah's ever hosted one.
I mean, thank God we had a dunk contest that was worth a damn this year.
But see, I didn't even check. I mean, I quit caring about those after there's no more Dominique, Jordan, or even Kobe.
Oh, dude, did you watch all Mac McClung's dunks?
No, I know that it was I saw the one where he leaped over two people to slam it.
And then a 540.
I mean, he looks like he should be serving you coffee.
Yeah, he gives hope to white hoopers everywhere. It's as simple as that. I was inspired by that performance.
Right. I'm here to fix your computer. And also win a dunk contest.
And maybe be the wide receivers coach at Nebraska, too.
Well, you have Westbrook planning to sign with the Clippers. Do the Clippers know this? They're going to lock the door and throw away the key. I don't know. Maybe I may tune into some playoffs, but I really just like tuning into Shaq and Chuck.
Yeah, inside the NBA.
That's it. That's it.
I will say the funniest thing I saw was about the All-Star game was this year they changed the draft format so that the reserves got picked before the All-Star starters. So like, whoever's last pick, it's not going to be anything because you're still going to be an All-Star starter. And someone said, in David Stern's NBA, they would have had cameras at the house of James Harden last year whenever he was picked last just to get the drama. And
That's
now they're
hilarious.
trying to protect all the players. Like, we don't want anyone to feel bad being last pick. It's the All-Star game.
It's not a skill thing. We just don't like you.
Yeah. Imagine the drama.
It is personal.
If you had a cut to James Harden's house as he's picked last and all the inside the NBA guys saying, he's not healthy now, but he will be in a week whenever he gets traded.
5 empty bags of chips there. Just done dealing on the couch.
All the All-Star games are going to hell in a handbasket, except the MLB All-Star game is still
You're
somewhat
turning into
worthwhile.
the old guy in his lawn chair on someone else's yard screaming at the clouds.
Well,
Good for you. I'm proud of you. I finally wore you down.
The level of care from the athletes has even gone down from my childhood and all these events. The Pro Bowl, it was bad whenever I was a kid, but at least like the NBA All-Star game, there was something of watchability when Kobe was playing back in the mid 2000s. It was watchable. And now it's just unwatchable. The Pro Bowl was unwatchable. The All-Star game for the past 2 years has been unwatchable. MLB, at least you get real at-bats. I'll give them that.
It's still for real.
You get real at-bats. You actually get pitchers. They're only going out there pitching, 15 pitches. So they get the most of it. They actually try. I liked it more whenever it still determined who was home field in the World Series. I think that's the key with these All-Star games. You have to put something on the line somewhere down the line. Is if the NBA All-Star game, if the winner got home court advantage, would the players try more? Maybe, probably not, but maybe. That something needs to be done to fix these All-Star games. They're awful.
I have some ideas, but some of it is not legal. So there you go. All right, we'll talk to you at 4 tomorrow. Hail Varsity back with you, presented by Currency. Thanks.